Hey everybody, welcome back to day 12 of the March Mood Mindfulness Challenge. Really excited to be bringing you today. Today we are talking about the sense of touch. And this is one of my favorite senses. Do I keep saying this? But, focusing on all the senses has made me really appreciate how I need each and every single one of them, and that I can't depend on one more than the other because I use them all in different ways, and they're all really important for different things, and they all complement each other so wonderfully. So every time I bring my awareness to the sense of the day, I think, no, this one's my favorite. So I hope you're also doing this. I hope that you're taking a moment to think about that sense for you and how much it works for you and how much it is a blessing in your life, but how much it actually impacts you and gives you so much. So today I want to talk about sense of touch, and for sense of touch I'm talking about our skin, our external. So touch could be our hands, touch could be anything that touches us or we touch on something. Touch for me also is the lips. So when we kiss our beautiful children goodnight, or sometimes I notice that I'll have something and I'll just kind of gently touch it to my lips. I find that is something that's very intimate for me, touching my lips. So touch is just one of those senses that really brings me back to myself. Like even that act of at nighttime when you put cream, just gently rubbing cream on yourself. I think there's something really beautiful about taking care of yourself and massaging yourself. You don't have to wait for someone to do it for you. I think it's just a lovely kind of loving way that we can come back to ourselves and appreciate our body and bring that feeling of goodness. A lot of people, I'm not sure if you've heard of the term havening. Havening is just that coming back to yourself and being aware of yourself and your body. And a lot of times I find myself doing this. I'm not sure if it's something that has been taught to me or if I kind of picked it up intuitively, but I always draw the heart. So here, note there's a point here. This is from tapping, if you guys know tapping, and it's just like it's a method to bring yourself back to attention when you're stressed in certain points on your body. But I'll just stick to havening first. Havening is where you draw a heart starting here and ending up here. And there's points here that are acupuncture points, and here, down here, as well here. So I kind of just do this beautiful heart, and I imagine myself being filled with love from up above, from the universe, from God, our creator. So the heart here, and then I come down, so coming down that meridian here, there's a central meridian that runs up through our bodies. So starting off at the base of the navel, all the way up, there's a central meridian that finishes here, and then there's a governing meridian that starts here, all the way up down the center and down our back. So if you're doing the love heart coming up through like this, to your chin, then come down, and then around about here where your chest is, draw another beautiful heart, and the heart comes all the way down and finishes at your navel. So it's like heart, feeling the love for yourself, and then once more time, heart and around your body. And in that time, always having that intention of giving yourself that love and that slowing down and the calming. And that's for people who just want to get back in touch with their body. When you're feeling upset and when you're feeling stressed, the simplest thing is to just rest your hands on your chest and feel your heart beating, calm it down. Also, the rocking is really beautiful. Also, the hugging is really beautiful. Also, another way is to put underneath your armpits, just like this. You're covering acupuncture points and meridian points, and you're just kind of giving yourself that little bit of a hug, reassurance to calm yourself down. So that's just how we can take care of ourselves, just by activating our sense of touch, right? So they say when you're in the middle of stress, recognize that you're stressed. How do you come back into your body? Start to touch. Start to remember this is your home. This is your vessel. This is where there is love. Love lives here. And you kind of start to calm yourself down, tune into your breathing, put your feet on the floor, ground yourself, and just continue to tell yourself that you've got this, that everything is okay. Come into the moment. And in those moments of clarity, the ideas of what you need to do will come next. So I wanted to just really briefly talk about how our sense of touch is very closely connected to our emotions. So basically, touch is how we communicate with the world around us. So when we need to understand the world around us, if you think about a little child, touch is where they're touching things, putting it in their mouth, just trying to get information. Touch is, is this thing edible? Is it not? And then touch is also a way of communicating. So if you think of when we meet other people, the first thing people want to do is touch them. So if you think of a handshake as a touch, if you think of a hug is a touch, if you think of pat on the back, that's touch. If you think about holding hands, you're walking together, holding hands with your children or your loved one. If you think of a massage, when someone says, I'm really stressed, and they say, here, let me give you a massage. It's kind of a way of communicating between two different people. Now, touch is really important because it lowers stress. How so? So when the sensory cells in our hands are activated, it goes straight up to our part of our brain, okay? And we've talked about this before. So the sensory cells convert the raw data of, what I've just held. They go, and it's a millisecond. That, just by the fact that I've touched it, the brain has already converted the signal that what I'm touching is a pen. And it goes straight from the tips of your fingers straight through to the hippocampus. And the hippocampus area is where learning and memory are processed. They're the processing center. And then very close to the hippocampus is also the amygdala, which is the center for emotions and processing emotions. Now, what's really interesting is our sense of touch actually reduces stress. So how so? Let me explain this part to you because I find this very interesting. So when we're stressed, we have an increase of cortisol in our body. Cortisol and norepinephrine, these are stress hormones, and they actually flood the hippocampus. Remember, we just said that the hippocampus is the learning center. The hippocampus is also the memory center. So when there's a lot of stress, you don't remember many things. You can't think, you can't learn, you can't take any new information. There's too much stress there, and so you feel foggy, you feel unlike yourself. What happens is that our sense of touch can actually activate a chemical called oxytocin, and oxytocin has also been referred to as the love hormone. So once oxytocin is released from that sense of touch, oxytocin then goes to act on the nervous system. And remember, the nervous system is divided into two sections: the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest, and the sympathetic, which is the stress. And what I want to show you here, this is the vagal nerve. So the vagus nerve is the one that activates either the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. So what happens is that when there is high stress, right, the sense of touch activates oxytocin, and oxytocin then starts to bring down this high stress level all the way down to this green zone, which is the rest and digest, which is why when we touch people who are stressed, so if you're holding someone's hand while they're getting a flu shot, or whether they're getting some kind of surgery, holding hands activates that hormone being released, and that's why it feels better to have someone with you when you go to the doctor. Basically, how it happens is that's what's happening in your mind, and the release of the love hormone, the oxytocin, and that combats the stress. So we'll always have stress in our life, but when we have that someone with us giving us reassurance, whether it's by words, and mostly by touch is the quickest way, that's how we decrease people's stress. Now, I know this to be true even before I studied any of this, because I work in aged care. I have found time and time again that old people are always lonely. They're always bored. They're always feeling like there's nothing to do, and that nobody loves them. They feel like they've been left behind. And the minute you walk in, the first thing they do is, hold out their hand. And the first thing I do is touch the hand, and they say, and there's almost this, you can see it on them, there's this, so wonderful. And I don't even have to say anything. And they're just like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. And that connection and that touch speaks volumes of what's happening, which is why I chose this quote for today. The quote for today which is, touch comes first before speech, and last, and always speaks the truth. I mean, when we've had our children, they don't speak to us. They can't speak. All they do is they cry. And that touch is the first thing that you do when you touch a baby. You just shush them and you make sure they're fine. And that's all it takes to settle someone down. When someone's crying, they don't want to hear you, but a touch is all it takes to calm a crying baby. Similarly, in the last stages, and I have been there many times, the person who is leaving this world is unable to talk. They're in sort of another realm. But I've seen this, is when you touch and touch, their eyes flicker open and they stare right at you, and you know they're there. And so it's from that heart connection that I say my goodbyes, and I tell them how much I love them, and tell them how much I'm thankful that they've been in this world. And you send that message through for that person who is transitioning from this world to the next to be at peace. So more than anything, I know that sense of touch is so powerful. So thank you so much for listening today. I do hope that you really focus on your sense of touch today, how sense of touch impacts those around you, how you can bring your state down when you're upset, or even to provide the next step of nurturing yourself, or a little bit of self-love, and just to really touch yourself in the areas where you feel like you need it most, I suppose, is what I'll say. I find that the cheek areas are areas where I really love putting my creams on, and on my hands as well. They're areas that get my most touch. I find also that touching my pets is the most soul satisfying. I have 3 cats, and each one of them has different color fur and different feelings of the fur. So one is more silky, one is more hairy, one is more furry. And if you're a cat owner or a pet owner, you'll understand what I mean. Each animal has its beautiful touch that I've touched many, many times, and I've touched with my lips many times, and caressed and loved my pets for the beautiful souls that they are. So I really hope that you take some time to play with touch today, and how you like to be activated in terms of your touch, how you activate your sense of touch and the emotions it brings out up in you. It's really, really an honor and such a blessing to have this amazing sense. And yeah, it's to be celebrated and enjoyed. So thank you much for joining me, everyone. I'd love to hear your comments, and I will see you in my next video.